Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
And we're live, dude. Wow. We're here. What up, Wes?
We're here, man. What's going on, dude? I'm excited for this weekend. Hanging out. Dudes hanging out. We're good.
It's going to be absolute just dudes having a blast.
I don't think I've hung out dudes in, like a core dudes hangout in years.
Yeah, man. I was talking to my buddy about it. He was pretty fucking pumped. So.
Yeah, I miss it, man. We got to do something like you and I have been trying to do with the group. Get something like annually going. So we're going to shoot for this summer. But yeah, I'm super pumped to be around a core group of men for an extended period of time.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's never. I was and maybe this is somewhat of a slight, but I was talking to my wife about the bachelorette party, and I was like, well, how many of you guys are going there? And she was like 10. I'm like, 2 of you will implode. 2 of you will just absolutely crumble. I don't know who it'll be, but 2 of the 10, by just the laws of the universe, will implode.
Yeah. There is some dynamic to it, and like you said, I don't mean to be negative towards any other group, but I remember going on a bachelor party probably like 8 years ago, and this guy, actually Anthony, you know Anthony,
yeah.
So he had like several little pockets of friends, so it was only maybe maximum 3 people knew each other, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So it was just like a random mismatch of dudes. And we were all like best buds, like a half hour into it. Everybody's busting each other's balls. We didn't know each other, and I just don't know if it's the same dynamic with bachelorette parties. I have a funny feeling that it's not.
I don't know. It's weird. It's girl world, dude. Dudes rule.
It's girl
Girls
world.
are in girl world. I don't know what they do, but from my experience, I've always been like, every time there's some group encounter, it's like, well, Ashley freaked out halfway through, and she's like, about what? I don't know. Somebody called her, and there's like somebody's on a phone in a bathroom for like 2 hours. What?
But that, and I think within context, like even let's just say like this group, like every single bachelor party I've ever been involved with, it's completely disorganized, completely chaotic, because like half the group responds, half the group doesn't respond to an email, and then the next time you send out an email, the other half doesn't respond, and only 2 of the other guys. So, but it doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? It's all supposed to be fun. Like
yeah.
Versus, I feel like I've seen in different groups of bachelorette parties, it's like, oh my god, like Jen, she didn't get back to me. It's like, well, maybe Jen was busy. Maybe Jen has 14 kids and she's just really busy with stuff. It's like, no, it doesn't know. Last time she looked at me weird at that party, and she was wearing white when it was not white season. So I think we're gonna have a bad bachelorette party. It's like, I think it's gonna be okay. I think everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, man. No, I'm telling you, they could definitely take a page out of Dude's book and just rule and have fun and not get hung up on the bullshit.
Yeah, man. I'm super looking forward to it. Paintball. I haven't been paintballing in years, man.
Dude, a lot of people are nervous. A lot of people are nervous about this.
Understandably
so.
People
are fearing injuries. My one friend was saying he's not worried about the paintballs so much, just like of him moving his body in ways like a kid he hasn't done in a while. It's like, dude, just seek a position, hold it down.
Well, that's why we've been doing mobility training on the scorecard team every single morning in preparation for paintball.
I'll die out there. Dude, how's the week been, man? You had somewhat of an unorthodox week flying around.
Mm-hmm.
How you been?
Week's been going great, man. The guys have really kept me fundamentally grounded with the scorecard. And I know I sound like a broken record, but we've been doing it now for what? And I don't know if Ray or somebody can chime in, but 5 months now, like basically uninterrupted, maybe missing a day here or there. Like if I'm traveling, but Ray fills in and Jake fills in and these guys fill in. So, everything else from there is upside. But we're moving forward with trying to get to the next level of business. So cool win, which was our goal for this year was to get to 250 million in management for the entire year. We're now at 255 million 3 months into it.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. So it's been awesome. So we're trying to crush it. And at some point we'll have to give I'll have to give more of like a finance discussion if anybody's down for it, like off of this, and it'll have to go through compliance and all that kind of stuff. But then also, I do think I've got some things maybe of value for anybody trying to grow business. And I'm not trying to be egotistical about it, but I do study it, and I study marketing like I did in college. I studied marketing and building business every single Saturday for 4 years, 4 hours to 5 hours every single Saturday, in addition to building the company. So if anybody's ever interested, we can have that discussion too. But like, it's nothing that I've created, just learning from other systems and so on. And man, it works. Like, it 100% works. 100%.
Awesome.
We're now 5 times larger than we were as an organization just 7 or 8 years ago. 5 times larger. And the company's been building for 43 years up until that point. So it grew 5 times larger in a fraction of the time. So I don't want to talk anybody's ear off about it, but yeah, building a business has been very challenging, but very rewarding at the same time.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to separate yourself from it too. Like it's easy. It's hard to look at it like that. Like, let me just put the systems in place and kind of grow this thing, rather than being like, how can I be the man? And then you try stuff and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, dude, there's so much trial and error. Like, I'm constantly doing trial and error. Like I told you guys, I'm dropping $4,000 on our next round of marketing that's currently going on right now. And I don't know if it's going to work because we're trying something different.
Yeah, no, it happens. Well, nice, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So how about you, bud?
Dude, this week was all about just keeping it cool. That, I was telling you before we started, it's like our babysitter's on somewhat of a hiatus, so I've been kind of I've been basically kind of biting the bullet on, like, the thing that centers me the most for the, at least before the last couple of weeks, was like just getting stuff done. And I still do. I really, really like just making progress on all the stuff I'm working on, and like it makes me feel good when I come down and I write, and I like what I write, or I come up with like a novel thing that I have to sit down in order to do that. It, like, really, that's what I've figured out. What really kind of, makes my day move smoothly. So I had to take a page out of Francisco's book today. Like, I just got swamped with the parenting responsibilities, where when the babysitter left, it was just kind of like me and her all day long. And it's so fun. I have so much fun, but I still have that part of myself that's like, damn, I want to get stuff done. I'll feel myself getting resentful. So like this week, in short, was just it's just an opportunity to do like inner stuff. So that's all I did. I turned it into like just a week of just inner work, which is pretty cool. It's like no matter what life throws at you, you really can figure out a way to just make it work and be like, well, I'll make progress in this domain then. So that was pretty tight.
So now, if you can walk me through that, it is a baby's crying, I'm going to learn it as, how do I strengthen my meditative practice, or what does that look like for you?
It's literally that. So to give you an example, yesterday we're recording Matt and Shane's Secret podcast. So we're doing the podcast. I'm supposed to drop her off my neighbors at 12. I get a message from our guest being like, hey, I'm here now at 11. Like, I thought we're starting at 11. So instantly I'm just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, haven't even called my neighbor yet. I'm like, I'm like, well, are they going to back? Like, hopefully they don't be like, hey, by the way, we can't do it today. So I'm just like, my head is kicking all these things that could freak me out around. And I'm like, it's all right. Just calm down, figure it out. And that usually would have sent me into a tizzy where I'm just like, and it's funny because I caught my brain, and I talked about this yesterday, just my brain being like, fucking Brittany's at work. Like, I just got pissed at her. And I caught my brain doing that. And I'm like, all right, that's ridiculous. So then I called people and, made it work basically. But that could have been a whole day filled with like resentment and kind of stress. And like, dude, it didn't stress me at all. Like, I would feel it start to set in and just literally be like, I'm not doing that. And, so that's something that would have sent me off, dude, of being like, I thought it was 12, it's 11. And it was like, I just communicated, figured it all out, what worked for me. And it's like, there is a point. This is what meditation, I think, helps you do, is just kind of like when you start to get those thoughts of like, she's at work and I'm doing this, it's bullshit. your brain just goes, hey, there's one of, because you observe yourself thinking so much that you're like, oh, there's one of those thoughts. It's like seeing a bee. You're just like, oh, a bee, rather than like going up and like grabbing it and like stinging yourself with it. You're just kind of like, oh, there's that kind of thought. And you're like, yeah, I don't want that. And then you just figure out the situation. Yeah, I had a great day. But it's like, dude, it's been trials like little things like that today. Like just changing her diaper. Again, before this, it's 11 o'clock. Is she going to go down? Am I going to have to hold her and, do all that stuff? Changing her diaper. I'm worried about that. You got to cut your nails when you have kids. I accidentally scratched her, starts freaking out, crying, and I just catch myself being like, fuck! And then like, I just think that, and I just go, all right, no big deal. It's pretty nuts, dude.
Yeah, well, I think you're hitting and articulating exactly what the benefit of meditation is, being able to catch your thought in real time and say, like, I'm not going to react to this. I'm just going to let it go. Everything's fine. And then getting back to joy and happiness and contentment.
Yeah, just getting back. And always, too, it's like whenever I'm like, oh, my God, I'm going to be late. And it helps me just be like, rather than being, oh, my God, I'm going to be late. It's like, I'm going to be late. Like, all right. It's like there's nothing to, really freak out about in that domain. And it really helps you, man. And like you were saying, it's cool and all, because when I meditated at first, I'd be like just focusing on kind of like blissing out and being like, oh man, I like reached such a deep, that's cool and all. But really, I think it's what you're saying is you're just training your brain to be able to start catching your thoughts while you're out in the world doing stuff. And it's crazy how well it works.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the very thing that convinced me, well, one of the major things that convinced me to start meditating was when I was reading this book and it said that they did autopsies on brains and they found that certain people had more gray matter in their brains. And they found that basically the correlation was yoga and meditation with the more gray matter in the brain. And the way the author described it is like, look, it's very simple. You're just sending more blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive function area of your brain. So you're then able to reason better. Like you have the actual muscle there. No different than if you were sending blood flow to a bicep after from doing bicep curls. It's just, it gives you, it puts strength in the area of the brain where you need it to be able to do the very thing that you're referring to. Because if you're all emotional, if you're all emotion, if you're all reaction, like it's just from lack of practice, in my opinion. So the amount of times you practice, so meditation, doing it daily, gives you that practice. So it's just a synthetic way of saying, okay, let's take this time right now, 10, 20 minutes, whatever it is, 5 minutes, whatever you can handle, and say, okay, I'm going to simulate the idea of these thoughts running by on the conveyor belt, and I'm not going to react. Oops, I reacted. Oops, I reacted. Oops, I reacted. Okay, boom, I didn't react. Oh, great, I got 1 out of 5. Okay, next time I'm going to try to get 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5, etc. So that's all it is, in my opinion. I don't know why people have to make it such a grandiose spiritual thing. Maybe, and that's cool and all, but I think for people like me, that turned me off for years. Mm-hmm. It made it into this something like, it's like I don't want to start wearing like tie-dye shirts and all that kind of stuff. I just want to improve myself. Right? I don't want to be this spiritual being. Like I want to improve my performance. So hopefully that helps people. Here's
the thing too, in terms of the some of like the deeper kind of implications of meditation is like, the thing we don't like to think about is the fact that it's something, our problems kind of suck now, but at some point our body's going to start to fail us. We're going to like start to die basically, like very noticeably. So it's like, imagine how, if this little thing's freaking you out, you're most likely when you get older going to completely fall apart and just be like completely embittered and just kind of like, it's going to suck. You're going to be some older person that like, your family has to come to their house and be like, oh, fuck, this person's like going to freak out. So it really is like, can you handle yourself now? If you can't handle yourself now, you can't handle your thoughts, your mind, your emotions now, it's only going to get worse, in my opinion. And people you don't want to think about that far out, but it's kind of like, and if you're training yourself to like handle that far away, it only helps everything along the way.
Yeah. And there's just something to having the fucking mind of steel. Like there's just something to it. Like regardless of whatever the situation is, you're not going to break my mind. Like that's what I'd like to strive for. It's like, and that's where we get into that book, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, the one that Matt, you and I talked about yesterday. Yep. I'm probably like 50% of the way through that. And it's just a killer book, man. It is just a killer book. And I like it because it's, he's not coming from a science perspective. He's not coming from any other perspective than like, hey, this is just what I did. And it's super primal. So if anybody out there has a chance to listen to, I'd recommend listening to the audiobook because he gives commentary podcast style between chapters.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm excited to get into that. I'm
Yeah.
heavy in audiobooks right now. I got a couple good ones. Usually I kind of dabble. I'm like, this is pretty cool. I have a couple really good ones going.
Mm.
But yeah, but that pretty much is it. It's like, you know, when things happen that kind of like, let's say, stimulate your nervous system in a way that you're not a fan of, it's ultimately your responsibility how you react. And I constantly catch myself kind of looking for externals to be like, Brittany making me fucking do that. And like that's just where my mind goes. And if you don't practice catching yourself doing that, and like you were saying, Wes, like you have a million options when you get angry or upset or whatever, nervous. You have a million options, and about 99% of them are probably going to complicate your situation further. But if you can start to figure out like kind of the more clear problem solving and like, all right, well here's what I'm dealing with. What do I actually need to do? And then you get used to doing that. It just, dude, it's crazy how much friction that removes.
Mm. Do you ever get excited by the obstacles? The reason I say this is because I was watching 300, the Spartan movie. I've probably watched that, I don't know, 40 times in the last 3 months. And one of the great comments in there was like the Spartan 300 were sitting on top of the hill, and they had this other group basically come along with them, and this other group is realizing these guys are a bunch of psychos, and one of the reasons is because one of the Spartans points down to like this massive Persian army, like just like you can't even see the end of it, and the Spartan guy's smiling, and the other guy from this other group saying like basically, the fuck are you smiling about? He's like, because one of those guys down there is going to give me, hopefully, my glorious death,
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's an element to take of that to the point where it's like, for me, I get excited. It's like, hell yeah, like give me that obstacle. Like this is going to make me better or enhance my narrative. Do you do anything like that, or is that just like American Psycho style?
No, no, I don't think it's American Psycho style. I think it's like you just kind of I sometimes you can kind of revel in the tension because we're kind of taught that we're supposed to seek this like completely tensionless state of like oh, you're upset, oh, take this, oh, have you felt blue for 2 weeks, oh, you must have this. Like we're kind of taught we're supposed to be in this level of like perpetual comfort, but what you're describing is there's so much more to be had by just kind of even if it's getting like stabbed to death by some dude is definitely an extreme example, but even like just feeling shitty and just being like, well, I'm just going to deal with this. I'm going to just sit with it and just deal with it and kind of, get acquainted with it rather than constantly running from how I feel with like, whether it be audiobooks, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, because there is a point where you reach where you're like, damn, I feel like shit. And you either you can literally stop what you're doing and lay there and just let the feeling pass naturally, or just constantly sit on that little hamster wheel of like, oh, but if I do this, I'll feel better. If I do this, I'll feel better. Then you do that thing and you do the next thing, blah, 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 blah. So, no, I think it's good for people to like seek out tension and challenges because otherwise it's like you get bored, if you don't have them.
Oh yeah. Well, and there's an element to me that says like, it's similar to the Spartan thing. It's like, okay, this thing automatically I say this is good. There's going to be benefit to this. And one of the major benefits is it's not going to give me a physical death, but it will give me a death of a part of myself that is unable previously to handle this sort of a thing because I've never been confronted with this sort of a thing before, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're talking about straightening by fire, dude.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I say it more than just some lip service because there's not an obstacle that you or I or anybody else listening to this hasn't gone through that on the other side of it hasn't said, well, yeah, that made me super strong. And there's a correlation between difficulty and post strength from that difficulty.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an idea in logotherapy. I'm still doing the stuff for Psych-Null. But I like the way the guy views the passage of time. It's like you can kind of view it two ways. You can either be like kind of nihilistic and be like every day that passes, you look at your calendar, it grows thinner and you're like, oh my God, my time's all going, blah, blah, blah. But the way the guy looks at it is if you like, kind of like you're saying, if you live life responsibly and kind of like you're constantly fulfilling your potential rather than trying to kind of like hide from yourself and be comfortable, every day that passes doesn't just fall into nothing. It kind of accumulates into a stack that you can look at. So the thing he's saying is basically, yeah, time passes and you can't get it back. But if you're doing, the right stuff, so to say, the right stuff for you, every single thing you do gets kind of frozen in time for all of eternity. So then you can kind of look back on your life rather than looking at a young person like, oh, they're so lucky, they have potential ahead of them. You can be like, I don't care about potential. I have, suffering suffered behind me. I have worked behind me. I have loved, and all this stuff, and all of these knowledge gained is frozen in the past, and I've already done it. Rather than just constantly being like, I wish I had this, I wish I had this. You can just look back and be like, that fucking ruled.
Oh yeah, dude. Honestly, what goes through my head is like, I'm gonna make this paintball session an epic fucking paintball session. You're gonna see me like standing on the top of the hill with some dude's skull in my hand.
I really hope. I mean, it'll be funny if we all have to battle each other, but if we get to go as a unit and fight strangers, it's fucking on, dude. I might slit someone's throat just with a paint knife. Just with a paint knife. Just run paint across the neck and like, fuck you, dude.
These 14-year-old boys have no idea what's coming to them, dude.
Yeah, those 14-year-old like church group and their parents have no clue. But yeah, man, I really think it's just a quick filter you can turn on when you feel like shit fucking sucks. You can either just you can become sour milk, or you can just be like, damn, this is my darkest hour, and just start to rise out of that. And then you go through a wave like that without crumbling, and it's like, it really does, like you were saying, Wes, it does something to you. It kills a part off of you, and it just really helps.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. So, dude, who should we have on the hot seat this week? What are you thinking?
Oh man, let me see. Who do you?
Jordan was saying Drew. Anybody who should be on the hot seat?
Yeah.
So Jordan said Drew. Anybody else want to volunteer for themselves?
We got the Fig Man.
Figgy's volunteering.
All right.
Who's working through something that other people could benefit from? Oh, Jake. We never had Jake on the hot seat. Oh yeah, Jake's down 30 pounds.
Damn. Hell yeah.
So your call, brother.
Let me see. Well, Jake, it's up to you. Jake, if you want to, throw something in. Otherwise, I'll grab the Fig Man. Up. And we'll do Figgy on Monday. Oh, hell yeah. Let's go. Oh, God damn it. Stop moving. There we go. Got him. You got to capture people while they're like moving down the chat log. It's just. Hell yeah. So Jake's coming up. But yeah, man, that's been kind of the week of just like, how do you take something that would normally spin? That was like the thing that would spin me out. Be like, I'm not getting stuff done. My world starts to crumble, and it's like, turning that around to where it's not the end of the world. What up, Jake?
Oh, what up?
Mr.
doing,
Jake,
dude?
what is up, brother?
Feeling good. Feeling good, man.
You lost 30, man.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
So walk me. What changed that? Where you lost all that weight, and what was that like?
Well, it was really the daily workouts with Wes and Ray. Like, Ray's optimistic as fuck, so like he makes it easier to like wake up early in the morning. And Wes has this like no bullshit attitude where like fucking it's like the angel and the devil. Like, someone's like a drill sergeant, the other one's like fucking giving me a hug and shit. So yeah, it was fun. And it's still fun. Like, shit, I'm still going to the daily workouts every morning.
How has it been mentally? Because I know like there's when you lose the weight, you're still kind of, sometimes you can mentally still be the person who's plus 30 pounds. If that makes sense. Not in like a bad way. I've done it before. I've lost weight, and like it's almost like people are like, oh man, you look good, and you're like, no, I don't. So it's like, how's that been?
Well, this actually came into like a big transition. I just moved out of my parents' house the week I joined Rhomas.
Nice.
So like this was like a big upgrade in like every kind of domain in my life. Like, I'm way more confident with my buddies. I'm way more confident with women. I'm way more confident with the potential within myself because of like losing the 30 pound. I don't know, my buddy and I, we've been both like keeping each other accountable on weight loss. My buddy, he's down 60 pounds since November. Yeah, he's been going crazy. And we do like daily FaceTimes or every other day. And him keeping me accountable like has helped a lot. And I forgot what I was answering. I just kind of rambled.
It was basically like the mental thing, because you can lose the weight sometimes, but also there's like the mindset aspect that needs to kind of match it. And sometimes it just naturally follows. Sometimes it's still kind of a challenge.
Oh yeah, this is why I mentioned my buddy. He was talking about how since he lost that 60 pounds, how now he's at the other end of it. He's like, dude, I could have done that standing on my head. This is easy as fuck.
Mm.
So like, I kind of have that same chip on my shoulder where like now I'm way more confident in my potential. So I'm just like, dude, fucking, if I could lose 30 pounds, I could lose 40. If I could fucking, like, I don't know, I just feel way more confident.
Yeah, well, and also to throw it out there, it's like if the guys listening, including myself, can learn from this, like you didn't just pick one goal. You changed where you lived, or you moved out on your own. You now do the scorecard every single day. So that's what 12 things you added to your schedule, plus you're losing weight, right? Like, that's what true holistic performance is. So I'd rather have somebody do that and fail at a few of those things than just say, oh, I'm not going to onboard a whole bunch of stuff because I don't want my life to get too crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have so much more capacity than we give ourselves credit for.
I couldn't agree more. Now I'm trying to fill my plate even more beyond my own expectations to see where that lies, to see if where my shortcomings are and where I don't know, putting a lot of shit on my plate, especially like I'm 25, I'm single, so like I have plenty of time to fuck off, and so just having a full plate and seeing where shit might fall off like is a good problem to have, because now I can see like exactly the barometer I'm trying to set and what my max and what my minimum will be, and etc.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. That's awesome too to get kind of a head start. Because I remember graduating college and being like, well, I have 7 years to do whatever the fuck I want, and whatever. But you come out of that and you start going, what the fuck? I wasted so much time, especially that time you get when you're just kind of you're by yourself or you're living with one of your boys or something. It's like, dude, if you can capitalize on that time, you can still enjoy it, obviously, but like really capitalize on that time, you're gonna enter your 30s and be like, oh, I'm so fucking happy I did that. I'm so happy I did that.
Yeah. And the other thing is, man, like, in developed worlds, countries,
Stunned.
yeah, dude, look at him just crushing green drink, on the side. We, in my opinion, can choose a very easy route. Like, that's almost the default. Versus when you hear stories like, you ever see that interview with Joe Rogan and Francis Ngannou, the guy in the UFC? I think he just became the UFC heavyweight champion. But dude, his story's insane. Like, he had to cross a desert. He had to try to cross a desert, I think 6 or 7 times, getting taken back by like immigration authorities, like et cetera. He was drinking. He had to drink water out of the dead corpse of different animals to get liquid. Like that sort of a thing, and put it. Oh yeah, like insane, like 6 or 7 times, right? But he kept on trying to get to a better life because he lived, I don't know, somewhere in some crazy third world country.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so it's like we don't get that opportunity right here because we've been born into abundance. I mean, even me, where I'm born into poverty, but it's poverty within America. That's not Francis Ngannou poverty, or had to drink out of the corpse of a squirrel, right? So manufacturing synthetically those daily challenges are the best way that you can build up that muscle, that mental muscle, because how else are you going to do it?
Man,
we have to do that.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said from being overcomforted, in a way. It's just it almost bothers people, I think. It does start to bother you when it's like, well, what the fuck? I can just order food off my phone and sit here and do nothing, and eventually you get like pissed, which again, if you're someone out there eating squirrels and shit, you're like, well, let me sit down and just order, a meal. It's awesome, but you do have to kind of, like you were saying, just kind of strain yourself and be constantly challenging yourself, and even just aimed at like some sort of thing outside of your own pleasure. Or outside of your own like immediate gratification. It's like it just, for some reason, I've found it helps people mentally to be aimed at some sort of larger collective thing. It doesn't have to be the entire world or whatever. It could be like your family or anything, but like just kind of sweetening the deal for yourself and those around you. I just, for some reason, it makes a big deal in terms of, it's a big deal in terms of providing meaning, rather than just like when you just go through the motions of like, oh, I guess I'm at this job, another day, another dollar, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I always like to read shit from like the 1700s to 1600s, because back then, like you were saying, almost everyone was struggling against nature at some point. So people really had to think of it like we need to make shit better. Now like shit's kind of so good that people are just like, man, whatever. And it's just, I'm always curious how long it'll last.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, man. Just by definition of us all being here, that means that your ancestors had to fight like hell, right? Like, so you've got that survival genetic code already baked in. It's just you have to wake it up. So, for instance, Jake, you mind if I ask you a couple questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Prior to you coming on and doing the workouts and the scorecard session and all that kind of stuff, would you have considered yourself a disciplined person up until that point in time?
No, not at all.
Right. So then how long have you now been executing every single Monday through Friday?
Since mid-January, I would say.
Right. There you go. For several months now, you've been executing. Basically, so every single weekday, no questions asked. I've never seen you miss one. How do you have somebody who says, no, I haven't been disciplined at all, to all of a sudden I'm executing daily? That's because it's in your fucking genetic code. Like, you would not be here if your ancestors did not have the ability to survive. It's just we have to be woken up from our comfy nap.
I appreciate that. Also, a big win for me was like, Rhomas helped me cut out my daily weed intake. I was smoking just the moment I would wake up, take dabs, joints, whatever. And it was very much like coddling my mind to not really think about the bigger picture. And then when I'm thinking about the bigger picture, I would suppress that with another fucking joint or something. So it was a constant, perpetual thing that I'm not 100% out of the woods yet, but like I'm definitely farther ahead than where it was a couple months ago.
Yeah, I think there's an element, Jordan Peterson nailed it. Is like, the reason that people smoke and drink is because it's fun. Like there's a fun element to it, obviously, and you get pleasure from it. My vote is, for me, and I hope other guys adopt this, is I want the pleasure of having what it feels like to have your face lay in the sweat that you just produced after a hard workout or after something hard. That pleasure that comes with saying, like, fucking right, like I just did this. So I get 10 minutes of joy, euphoria now, because I put in the work. Not 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, of joy because I ingested something to make me feel that pleasure, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying it from a moral perspective. I'm saying that's just what I prefer. And I think one has infinitely more benefits than the other.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, for me, it all depends on like the thing. I think that especially with weed that is so killer is that it's like pretty benign. So it's like, you're not going to like go and freak out or like rob like a grocery store or anything like it's meth. So it's like it is pretty benign, and it's like it can start to, if you get in the habit of like daily weed. There's some people, again, I've met people who swear they're like, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I smoke weed and I function and everything's fine. It's like, hey, whatever. That's not been my experience. I do think that one benefit I think it has is if you can discipline yourself to only use it for meditation. And it's just, again, it's more for like a spiritual practice kind of thing if you're into that. And if you're not, you're not really missing anything. But that's the one thing I've met people who are like, because I've quit smoking weed before, and I just go, all right, well, that's what that's like. So for me, it's like cutting down on the impulse use, and it sounds like a funny thing to schedule, but if you can, if you want to totally quit, that's totally fine with me. There's people I know who kind of like, well, I don't want to totally quit it, but I want to kind of like change my relationship to it. It's like schedule it, and then say once a week, and then you can start to discipline yourself. And I think that's what it's supposed to be used for, in terms of like not just like watching fucking Rick and Morty, like which is fun. If you want to do that, go do that. I don't care. Like Wes is saying, it's not a value judgment or like don't do that. But for me personally, I just don't function that well in the world doing the things that I need to do while I'm stoned all day. I wanted that to be a reality. It's just not. It's just fucking not. And I've tested it a lot. It's just not. But for me, the thing I found benefit in is like setting aside 2 hours and just really helping you work on the process of letting go. Because when you're in that state and you can just focus on like there's like bodily sensations, there's weird thoughts, you can sit there and just let go of all that. I do think there's tremendous benefit in that. But again, it's one of those things where it's like I don't think it's for everybody, honestly. But that's something getting a wrangling on that is good, especially with the dabs and all that stuff. It's just like they're so fucking strong, and it's just like so expensive. That's the other thing too. It's so expensive. smoking
Yeah.
dabs and all that stuff.
So, nerdy guy again. So what's a dab?
I thought you were gonna be
What's a
like,
dab?
I have a confession. I've been ripping dabs all. So dabs are just like the concentrated form of weed. So it's like if you were to take a bunch of weed and process it with like some form of like solvent that like strips all of the active ingredients. So say you have a gram of weed, a little nug, then you took like 20 grams of weed and extracted all the THC out of those 20 grams and turned it into something this big. So it's 80% THC.
Okay, so it's like just a consolidated version, kind of like
Yeah.
Ray will appreciate this, like a balsamic reduction versus a
Absolutely.
balsamic vinegar.
Absolutely.
And it kind of gets into like hairy territory because you need a torch.
Yes.
So like you definitely you look weird, and it's
Wow.
it's not a good feeling holding a torch to get stoned. Like it's
Yeah. It's very.
So what is the benefit? I just give you, I assume, some sort of like intense high.
yep.
Okay.
That's literally it. It's just way more powerful, which is why I had to get that shit out of my crib.
And then does that then, if you go then to smoke weed, does it feel like it's not sufficient because you now have dab experience?
Yeah, it's like smoking a cigarette. Like
Yep.
if smoking a joint would be like
Wow.
smoking a cigarette after a dab. Like I wouldn't feel. It would just be like inhaling air. Like it would be almost pointless because I would be stoned as like to almost peak level.
Yeah, well,
Got
the
it.
other thing too with the concentrates, that people don't realize, especially when they just buy them from like wherever. When you concentrate THC, you're also concentrating all the pesticides and fertilizers and stuff. Because if you're especially if you're buying weed on the black market, and even honestly some medical weed, I'm sure they get away with some bullshit. But when people buy like black market like concentrates, it might be totally fine or whatever. But chances are, if you're running a criminal organization, you're not really too worried about pesticides. Again, you'd find some hippies who maybe not do that, but for the most part, if you're someone running like a criminal operation where you're like literally growing weed and reducing it down to whatever chemicals you need, or whatever like consistency you need, you get a lot of pesticides. And when you reduce it, you're also like you're increasing the THC, but the pesticides are super high too. So people don't realize that. So some people are like, oh, it's totally benign. It's like, yeah, again, it's not heroin, it's not cocaine, but something to think about.
Yeah, and I'd imagine the dab is you're getting closer, right, to like some of those more potent drugs. I assume, like if you're starting to consolidate some of this stuff, some of these chemicals. I'm just guessing. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'd imagine that to be the case. Like the more you mess with it chemically, the closer you get to like being on more of an intense scale of other narcotics.
Sorry, Jordan just said, can we all take a second to imagine Wes on a dab? but no, I mean, Wes, I think you're right. And there's also the main point is like, forget about, whatever you're doing. Like the question is like, why does somebody need to be that high? Like you were saying, there's like Wes was pointing to the escalation effect where it's like, you start doing dabs, and then I know people who've done this and they're like, I can't smoke regular weed now because it doesn't do anything. And it's like, okay, whatever. But it's like, what, and if you were to tell me like, oh, I'm trying to reach like some sort of transcendental state and meditate, it's like, okay, do your thing. Well, maybe that's just what I say for myself, but it's like, what's the point of being that high? Like, why are you doing that? And it's like something you start to question, like, why do I need to be this high? And it's like, no. And a lot of it too is like, can you also sit with yourself? And I strip myself down to the point where even like audiobooks before, like I have a routine before I go to bed, I constantly listen to audiobooks. Every now and then I just go, I'm going to lay in bed. I'm not going to listen to anything. I'm just literally going to lay there by myself and just sit with myself. And it's like typically that kind of, and it's not a one-to-one thing or a thou shalt not, but there's typically that behavior pattern of like kind of avoiding your mental space is present in the seeking of, heightened states regularly, just kind of on impulse, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I try to do something very similar. You inspired me one time when you said you, on the flight over to come see me out in California, you just stared at the tray in front of you for like an hour or 2 hours, which I still have not been able to replicate that. But, being with your own thoughts is something that is super beneficial.
Yeah, or just observing the part of yourself that wants to be distracted. And again, I don't. If you want to fly, read a book. I don't say you should do this, but like it's for me, it's just a test because I'm always curious to see like, what's kind of running the show. If it's just kind of my weird impulses, if I'm actually, obviously it's kind of like a mix. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Just sitting there and kind of just really trying to focus on what you're doing, just challenging your brain to like learn how to sit in your emotional states that you might otherwise not even realize you're doing it, but try to get away from. It's like I never thought about this stuff until this year, really. So I'm kind of new at it. But there's something to be said for just sitting with yourself and just not trying to constantly, turn the knobs on your feeling states and this and that. Because you can go into oblivion trying to like, well, I'm gonna do this and that, of just trying to kind of like just sit with it and just see what it is. And what you learn is it just passes, no matter what.
Yeah,
so
100%. Cool, man. Well, if it's okay, I want to throw out to the guys, if you guys can share your wins in the comments. Jake, you're crushing it, dude. Down 30 pounds. Keep on doing it, man. And you're the perfect example of like you're not doing anything extreme. You're not only eating like cabbage, right? Like it's like you're going about it in a healthy, sustainable way, and your results are showing, brother. So it's been an honor to fight by your side, man. I appreciate you showing up every day.
Oh, dude. Thank you guys. Thanks to the team. I couldn't have done it without you guys. I'm much apprated.
Hell yeah, man. Good having you on, bro.
Don't feel too guilty about your wax or your crumble or whatever you have in your drawer. It's probably sitting there like I have so much fucking rosin in my drawer.
I actually got rid of all that shit.
There you go.
I try to get rid of all those reminders. I still have weed like right in front of me over here, but like I usually wait till about 3 or 4 till I even get into that. So
hell yeah, man. Yeah,
awesome.
That's one of those things I think that if people can discipline themselves around and get out of the whole like, oh, whatever, it's this or that, it's completely harmless. It's like, yeah, again, it's not going to freak you out. And it all depends on what you want to do. There's some people who are like, I want to smoke weed every day, God damn it. And you're like, hey, knock yourself out. But I know personally you get to the point where you're just like glazed over and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? So hell, good on you for just kind of again, it's not so much good on you for abstaining or this or that, for just figuring out what worked for you and then doing that. So
awesome. Hell yeah, man. Good having you on, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Dude, definitely, man. So we already got the dude of the week. We already did it.
That was a unique case. Maybe we can still have one for Friday because that was Monday. It was the first ever, maybe even first and only Monday dude of the week. And big thanks to Jordan again for coming on Monday and being vulnerable and telling everybody about their struggles, because we all fucking deal with those struggles, man. All of us. So that is nothing to be ashamed of. It's actually everything to be proud of. So again, big shout out to Jordan for coming on and doing that, man. So Matt, who deserves to be nominated for dude of the week? I think we got to throw Jake up there again. 30 pounds coming on. He's just still crushing it. Who else? Anybody else?
The Troy boy setting up the running thing.
He's been taking the lead.
Yeah, he's been putting out fires due to his horrible pick with the whatever app that was. The Fitbit app is trash, dude.
Is it really?
The Under Armour app rules.
Oh, shit.
The Under Armour app's so good for the running challenges. But Troy made all kinds of he made the Google spreadsheet, so he's been going hard on that, man. So I whatchamacallit, I think I commend Troy for all the work he did for that.
Hell yeah,
it's
Troy,
tough.
great
It's
job,
tough
bro.
when you do that. When you put that up and then it doesn't work. That's something that would flip me out in the past where I'd be like, fuck, this fucking app isn't, oh my God. So he's been handling that well and taking care of it.
And always, I mean, Ray should just have his name written in stone up on the Dude of the Week nominees.
Ray wants to retire his jersey. He got the shirt. He said he wants to retire now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
How Jordan of him.
I know.
Retiring in his prime. Okay.
He's an elder, dude. He said he retired. He got the shirt, and he's elder. Which I was like, damn, that's awesome. You might get dude of the year. I don't know what's going on.
He better fucking wear that shirt to one of his fancy parties. Oh,
that'd be so funny.
Ray, goddamn it, you better. If you have any idea how much work Matt put into that shirt, he said never. He said never.
I gotta fix it. I did dude of the week. It's actually dude of the month, so I gotta fix that. Also, I'm gonna toss in Chalupa Cobb. Built his kids a playhouse, 2 runs after recovering from flipping over in his car, which is terrifying.
What?
Yeah, man. Chalupa Cobb took a tumble in the old car.
Holy shit! I thought that only happened in Mission Impossible movies.
Nope.
We got to have Roger up on here sometime. I don't think we've ever had Roger up, and I'm seeing him, seeing his name in the comments and so on. It'd be cool to have him.
Hell yeah.
We've never had a really chance to talk to him. I'd like to get to know him.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. He's the man. Let's so I got right now Jake, Troy, Chalupa Cobb, and M Gunth.
All right.
Anyone else? Toss your hat in the ring. Also, I don't think Tiger Boy's here, but he put up a sick video of him on some girls like dating app show. It was pretty funny. All right.
Nice.
Let's go. All right, it's up. The poll's up. Oh yeah, he did stand up too for the first time. That's a big win.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, here we go. Polls are up. Oh, here we go. We're looking at Chalupa Cobb, bro, pulling out. I mean, it's just a couple votes. There's still plenty of time. There's still plenty of time. Here we go. Here we go. Oh my goodness. Wow. People are fucking. Oh, here we go.
It's a good one, bro. It's a good one.
This is it's neck and neck. I was gonna say people are stoked on Chalupa Cobb. Here we go. Now we're neck and neck. Troy and Chalupa Cobb. Oh man. Oh boy. I don't know, dude. We're at an absolute gridlock. Oh, Troy pulled out.
Oh yeah, and Chalupa Cabra. We got to remind people he made that awesome Rhomas sign out of wood.
True. Fuck, I forgot. I have it right
yeah.
here.
Yeah, I do gotta say that he crushed it on that thing. That thing was cool, man.
Oh, and
you actually have it,
dude. Yeah, he pulled the head.
That was nice, man. That was nice. Yeah, that was a tough. That was a. And Troy and Jake, I love you guys. Obviously, that was a cool act of service, but we'll have to have Troy and Jake up on your next week
the
too.
sign absolutely took all the votes.
It did, man.
Oh man, that was neck and neck. Damn, and then Troy saying "give it up," which is absolute dude of the week stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There it
cool.
is. There she is. All right, there we go. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped, man. That's my little trophy case, dude. I've gotten a bunch of cool stuff just from the doing everything, just kind of sent. And it's been pretty tight.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, but I looked at it. I didn't realize. I looked at it the other day. I'm like, I have 4 cool things sitting in my basement now. I always wondered what do people just how do people figure out what to hang up and stuff? And it's like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I think it goes back to building your environment intentionally, and every time you look at things like that, it gives you a certain feeling, gives you a certain set of thoughts. I think that's exactly how you should build your environment.
Yeah, man, pretty cool.
Cool. All right, man. Well, hopefully one of us comes back alive to do this show on Monday.
Hopefully I die gloriously. Hopefully we both die gloriously.
That'd be great. That would actually be great. That would be great. All right, let's do it, man.
Later on.
All right, dudes. Have an awesome weekend.